Hello, sir.
Oh, hey, how's that? How's it?
Oh, yeah, it's a day.
that?
Be a moment to get these things turned on.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody.
David's outside in the woods again,
Absolutely.
searching for Bigfoot.
Maybe some people can come over to my house and we can sit on the deck together and enjoy these Zoom calls.
You're like Virginia
Northern
near
Virginia.
DC, right?
Yep, Northern Virginia near DC. Jennifer's actually not far, although I don't think we only show up at conferences, even though I know she's not far from me.
I'm just a little bit further out, more in the suburbs.
I might end up moderating a Intel conference in the fall. And if that happens, I may have an opportunity to take you up on that generous offer, Mr. Wheeler.
All righty.
There'll be far less goose hats.
Oh, goose hats are welcome here.
Here, yes. I don't know about my friends at Intel if they like the goose hat or not.
Oh, okay.
Well, I will ask the question as we are forming up here, like I did in the Slack channel. Does anyone have anything they want to talk about today? I have nothing planned, but we'll be willing to participate in any conversation folks are interested in talking more about. I will pass on kind of a kudos. There is a governing board member going through and doing kind of a audit state of the union of the foundation and activities, Stephen, and he is using the output of this group as some of his reference material to help him decode what the hell we do here. So that it was nice that someone sees value in the work of this group, and they thought it was helpful. So thank you, everybody that's participated.
I'm on the receiving end of a lot of his private. Okay,
Yeah.
Fun talks.
It's worthwhile work, just trying to get a handle of where we are and see if we need to course correct or invest more in one area. It will try to elicit more volunteers here or there. It's a good effort. I'm looking forward to the results of the review. So did anyone have any diagrams they wanted to talk about or explore more in detail, or any topics about trying to explain how the foundation can work better together?
One of the things that has come up is around onboarding. So whether or not we have any thoughts on creating onboarding that's for new potential contributors.
I'm aware of two possible efforts around that, Jay. Just had a riveting conversation in the governance committee about a new DevRel committee they're putting together. It's focused on a subset of onboarding and engagement. The TAC issue 169, where we don't have a great interaction. It's not easy for maintainers to understand what we do and what the value is for them. So I think that started a broader conversation and people thinking about how do we get that onboarding. So I look forward to personally assigning an action item to that committee once it forms, specific to creating that, helping assist in creating that onboarding material, working with some of the stuff that Jennifer already has, to try to have those material so it's easy to get engaged. And then secondarily, I just had a phone call earlier this week with a young lady from the LF education team, Cassidy. She is an instructional designer for LF education, and she is working on a project to create tiny epic little training classes that will cover each of the working groups. So we will have some type of video artifact or materials around the working group. So I think that potentially could help that longer term conversation. And we were talking about that in the education SIG the other morning.
Yeah, as a quick comment for that one, I'm thinking it might be better to have a single short one that just kind of walks through what are they, because
Yeah.
Because if you know which working group, I mean, you can already start going there. But I think the bigger problem is there's a lot of parts here. Which one's which?
Yeah, I agree. There needs to be some type of master narrative on the top, but I also agree with her that there is value in describing what that working group does. Give somebody a focused kind of little class, so to, or whatever the heck it ends up being, to help them do a deeper dive. But I like the idea of having an umbrella. Hey, this is the OpenSSF, and here's like how all this stuff plugs together and how to sign up and learn more. Patches welcome.
And I'd love if we could even do clips or like short videos that we could just share on social as well, and really
Exactly.
help people to amplify and share on their own.
Love that idea. Yeah.
They're interested.
So yes, and then David also has the landing page idea, which is another we're doing in the best practices, where we have a lot of artifacts for the community. And David and Amanda and a couple folks have been working on presenting those in a cleaner way. And that's another potential for us to like address the maintainer developer persona. But we may want to think about that, and see, is there opportunity to adjust the main foundation page with some of this user journey type stuff. Like, as a developer, I need to learn how to write more secure code, or as an auditor, I need to understand the pedigree and provenance of software my organization uses, that type of stuff.
Yeah, just to be clear, the landing page that I just linked to, although I put it in the best practices working group under the, I propose it in the best practices working group merely because that seemed like the best fit among the working groups. But the goal is not to only list best practice working group results. It's whatever is. I think the trick is we've got a lot of stuff in flight that's in process of development. The trick right now is, okay, developers, here's what's ready for use now, knowing more is coming. And then as we get more stuff matured, add that to it. And, suggestion, patches welcome, I think.
Yeah, well, and that ties into the idea behind the DevRel community and the TAC issue 169. Right. Which is probably one of the best written issues I've read in a long time. That young lady put together a lot of thought into it and offered some solutions. So I think that there are a lot of people interested, and it is kind of confusing on knowing where to onboard. We all agree. Is there anything we want to work on today to make that better?
Well, I wanted to talk about one thing. So the slide deck for this group, we did put to creative services to update a couple of slides that are also shared in this deck, and a few others that we use for, onboarding new members and for, trying to lure in new members as well. So could I just share my screen quickly and share those, and then I think the next step. Okay, that wasn't free as well.
Lure. It really feels like you're trapping them.
I mean, attract.
I know. Yeah, that's a bit better. Thank you.
That's
I know that's what you mean.
I see what you're saying. Yes. So this one, the structure, working groups, projects, and SIGs, And then I'm not sure why it's in here twice, but
It's good. That's why it's in there twice.
and then the CI/CD view of how all work together. So this is just a little bit of a sort of a redesign of what we had before. These are the older ones. I think they're a little bit easier to digest. I don't know, thoughts?
I think so. And especially like the CI/CD one, I think with all these diagrams, we had always wanted some type of interactivity. It would be nice if, this, and not in a presentation, but if it ended up on the website, if the viewer could hover over, oh, I want to look at L, and you hover over, and that would let you send you a link over to Alpha and Omega, for example. It'd be nice just to make it a little interactive, dynamic.
At least the original ones that I created have links for everything.
In the presentation, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't click on that right now.
Right.
And if somebody's showing me,
thanks for putting the reminder in front of everybody that, Amanda pinged me and
Okay,
I've not
I'm
responded. I actually have no notification on my phone. I have not turned off because every day I'm like, yeah, I need to respond to Amanda.
Apologies, I didn't know that was gonna pop up.
It's all right.
Which
I'm
bubble
just
is
kidding.
she referencing? This one? This one? The AI?
So that's my question, actually. I'm not sure what she's talking about. So I need to respond to her in that regard. But anyway, I didn't mean to derail you. Sorry.
Sorry
It's just
about
like glaring in my face, like, yes, I know
right, let me-
about this. Tell me, it's on my phone.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm teasing. But so if we kind of like this, I'd like to give the rest of the deck over to creative services to kind of do their magic as well.
sure.
It
For
definitely
anything
looks
that I
better.
made, I have the source Visio files that I could export as SVG or whatever else. They are all in the diagrammer's GitHub as pings, but I've got the actual source stuff as a Visio. I can export to assorted things if you need it.
Cool. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I was trying.
Rob is the
you have a link for that?
magician with all the power.
Yeah, do you have a link for that, Jennifer?
For the deck? Yeah.
Yeah, you're just. Is it the same one, or is this a different one, or?
It's the same as the one you were working on, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that definitely. I like that it's cleaned up. It looks better.
Or is that in your one?
Yeah, but is this the same URL? Is this the same one we've been doing, or did they make a copy?
No, it's the same because see, it has on slide 12 another comment I had put, which is this is missing a CI positioning sig, which Amanda
Gotcha.
responded to. So it's the same.
Gotcha. The one challenge with slide 7 is it doesn't make clear. Is it clear enough to folks that the TAC is its own group, or is that on slide 7? It looks like the
Yeah.
TAC has everybody inside it, which
It's true.
I'm loading. Hold, please.
I think that's a good point. I agree with you, David. Visually,
Maybe
the
just have
better
a
that
separation
blue
there.
box was a
yeah,
bit.
have a wide rectangle, and then underneath it the other rectangles or something like that.
Oh, but wait, this is something.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
You kind of screw things up.
Somebody
Somebody
did.
made a
Made it
change.
I just
Wild.
resized it, but I don't know why it's screwing up the text now. Sorry. I'll undo because I don't want to be held responsible for breaking the slide for everybody.
Well, I
But I
suspect.
cannot undo?
I think there's probably an additional text box on top of
Yes,
the
there's
box.
2 of them.
That's what it is. You're right.
Yep.
Come on,
And now that it's a ta.
Ta.
Where we need to resize? No. Oh shit. Too many cooks in the kitchen now.
It's the blessing and curse of communal Google Doc editing.
Yes. What is that?
Yeah. Okay. There's the problem.
Okay, who's got the pen? Ah, there you go.
I was doing it for a moment. You can see my face trying to read all this on a tiny screen. All right, yeah, there were just multiple boxes on top of each other.
But yeah, something like this, I agree with you, David. I think that looks better. So it doesn't look like the tag is just this big monster holding everybody in. With little
I mean,
arrows.
right. I mean, if you want pretty but simple, I think that looks fairly. I mean, you know, I was showing all the hierarchical lines, and this one doesn't. But I mean, just if you assume that higher than lower, that would work. I think this works just as it is.
Yeah, no, I think it does.
Where should the bubble go? Up, and they kept the old ones. I just in case. Sure.
And this works with existing members or people that are interested in the hierarchy, but thinking back to the young lady that did the TAC issue 169, from a developer, maintainer, community member, this doesn't mean anything to them.
That's correct. If you wanted to know what the OpenSSF is, this is helpful. If you're a developer and you want to know what can help me, this is mostly useless because it's the wrong information.
Or as a downstream consumer or
right.
anything. Yeah.
Right, which is why, I mean, you know, the DevRel, I mean, you mentioned that that much longer issue, which had all sorts of cool points. I'm really glad that they wrote all that down. And you can see my issue. What I did, all I did is I peeled off a small piece of that about, hey, we should have a landing page. And although I stuck in the best practices working group because I thought that was the best, you know, the goal was to have a bunch of people work on it. And you know, if that turns out to be useful, we can maintain, you know, that working group can maintain it and basically serve as a way to help link to everything else that's been released. I mean, the other alternatives with the TAC doing it, but I figure the TAC's kind of busy. Crow, you can disagree with me.
Well, and maybe again, if we turn our minds to thinking about personas and user journeys, maybe your developer webpage that might address the developer maintainer persona and that journey potentially. We want to think about, longer term, how would you potentially adjust the foundation's landing page to maybe make that more prominent so that a new person's coming in and they could, identify with a journey or an objective and have that coach them through that, getting access to what they were looking for. But no, I like the cleanup. Let me know what I can do to assist, Jennifer. I still owe you geese. I just haven't
Well,
been busy.
So we also spoke with Creative Services to start getting some logos or identity for each of the OpenSSF initiatives. But honestly, when digging in, it's not clear which one is at the level that needs one or not. So I think this kind of corresponds with some of the other work ongoing to really identify everything. And then that'll help make that clearer.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then I would humbly suggest that having some branding and logo that might be a criteria of maturity and membership, that a group has to have certain criteria, and then you potentially have the ability to request assistance in getting something like that. Little carrot.
Yeah, I like that too. Are there thoughts at this point? Do you think we have that clearly defined? Like once? No, okay. Yeah.
I have 1,000 action items, and that's like 872 on the list.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying it falls just to you either.
Patch is welcome.
There's a scope statement for the OpenSSF Foundation, but is there any description or diagram for what is not in scope?
Today, no, but that's something potentially like within the LF, we could do some Venn diagrams and kind of show we're focusing in on supply chainy stuff. And that touches on maybe CNCF or CDF, the other foundations. So we might be able to do like a Venn diagram.
And LF, AI, and data.
Yep. Which is like not in our Venn diagram, it's way over there.
Yeah, except that we already have an AIML security working group in
This
progress.
is exactly what I
They
was
just
referring
have
to,
meeting
David.
5, right?
Where we have an unofficial group for now.
Well, that's correct. It is a group that is working to attempt to form. So as far as the scoping, I should warn you that I'm okay with saying supply chain, but I interpret supply chain quite broadly. So if there's something that causes developers to always, produce vulnerable code, that's still within our scope. Like education on how to develop secure software is absolutely within our scope. What I've been telling folks, and maybe since you're here, but I can try this on, is individual open source projects are responsible for their own efforts to try to make it secure. We are not here to rewrite everybody's code. We are not here to rewrite anybody's processes. However, it's hard to do things all by your lonesome. So we are here to develop tools, processes, education materials, anything as in a supporting role, so that it's much easier to do all those things and make them secure. Things like education materials, or detecting malicious components, or guidance on how to do better builds, or guidance as a consumer to look for better better things coming in. So basically being a supporting role. So that being said, the scope's pretty broad.
Right. And UMCAR will be working on helping better document that, better our mission, vision, strategy, and roadmap for the foundation. And then we'll be filtering that down to the working groups so that could help people identify what it truly is in and out of scope. And that helps us make sure that we're all kind of rowing in the same direction towards that shared vision of whatever that ends up being, which is going to be some type of riff around open source supply chain, software supply chain.
I do think that there's a much simpler constraint. If people are not willing to spend the time to work on it, either individually or corporately, or both, it won't happen whether it's in scope or not.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about things happening maybe that shouldn't happen, David. But both are valid concerns. And I'm sorry, was it Victor who spoke earlier? I think that's a very valid point, though, is it would be good for us as an organization to go through this exercise of saying, okay, what are the things we really don't, expect to be done here?
Right.
And I mean, there's a lot of things we said, oh yeah, we can't do it all alone and it makes no sense. And there's a lot of other things going on. We need to encourage collaboration with other organizations. And, I don't need to derail this meeting, but the AIML stuff strikes me as being redundant with no effort to even position, this proposal with regard to other things that are going on in LF alone. Not speaking of other organizations.
Yeah, I think it's totally within scope. Whether or not the OpenSSF should do it is a separate question. If now Brian is already going to go talk to the LFAI and data folks. My understanding is that they are already doing some things, but not some of the other things, and so there's either try to convince them to add to their scope or work out a deconflict.
Yes, I agree with that. That's totally reasonable.
Yeah, we have a large challenge.
Does not even acknowledge there are other things going on, but
is we have a lot of duplication throughout the ecosystem, and there are potentially people, maybe the Continuous Delivery Foundation is better at talking about CI/CD stuff, and we might defer to their guidance or participate over there as opposed to trying to spin up our own CI/CD working group, for example.
Right. But I would argue that that's not so much working out the scope of the OpenSSF. That's just as a matter of good policy. Whenever you're spinning up anything, step one is, if I were from an academic view, it's the literature search. Who else has done that? And try to build on instead of just redo.
So today we don't have the what's out of scope, Victor, but ideally we're going to put some guardrails in place to help make sure that what the foundation is doing is better defined going forward.
Sounds good. Thanks.
But I think, again, I want to reinforce, I think that, I appreciate this point because it's pretty standard to, no pun intended, in standards organization, when the charter, for a new working group or technical committee is proposed, it says what they're going to do and what they won't do. It's very standard practice to do this because it helps better define the scope. And this is not something we've done so far.
Is there something in particular you think we should never do?
Windows.
We do what others are doing.
Hate to do
Compete
that.
with other efforts that are already ongoing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Compete with other efforts, unless there's a reason we think we should.
Yes, but this needs to be argumented, and it's totally reasonable. You can say, look, there's this thing going on, but we are going to do it because we're going to take a different approach, and we believe this is a better because of this or that. And then we can say, all right, I'll give that a try, and that's reasonable. But you can't just say, oh, I'm going to do this, and it's like, wait, they are doing the same there. Oh yeah, well, we'll collaborate if they care.
Okay.
Like-
Yes. Yeah. I'll give you a specific example. SigStore. Technically, it just cryptographic signatures. Aren't those already done? Sure. Just use GPG. How many people have kept their GPG keys? Not very many.
I lost mine when I
I've
changed
lost a
jobs.
few.
I also I threw mine away before I even changed jobs because it was an excellent indicator of spam.
I have a directory of lost keys.
Yeah. So I mean, but basically, but that's my point though, is we have to be careful about constraining and saying we won't do
No, but-
this if there's something like it. I understand what you're going though.
Oh, and a better strategy to address that, and it reinforces the value proposition of the foundation, is we don't necessarily have to create a group to do that. We can motivate our membership to go participate over there as a representatives of the foundation to show the value that the work we're doing adds.
Yep.
Collaborate, and that way we don't own it, and I don't have to get people to come to my meeting and give me like a briefing on what they did last month.
Anyway,
All right, anything else about either the reworked diagrams or any other diagrams you want to talk about today? Any other concerns we might want to think through?
Yep, we've got updated diagrams, and as far as the DevRel stuff goes, there's at least some efforts going that direction.
I'm very excited about getting that off the ground and actually starting to do things. And I think there's going to be some good participation across the foundation to help solve that particular use case. But I think we need to look at the broader, what are the personas we're trying to address? What are those journeys, and how can we effectively communicate and illustrate to them to make those connections with those right resources? All right, well, I will let you all have a half an hour back in your days. Thank you for your time and participation, and we will all talk very soon.
Excellent.
Cheers.
Take care.
all right. Thank you. Bye-bye.